Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Harvey County Talk. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley. Our guest on the program today is Sam Schaefer, who is the marketing director of Kansas Christian Home. How are you doing today, Sam?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good, very good. I want to say first off, I appreciate you coming on the program. I know that you guys have some things coming up in the future, and we'll cover that. And that's really the reason behind you, making contact and wanting to come on the program. But if you've ever seen the program before, and I know you have because we talked about
That's
it.
That's right.
I'm sure you know the format, which is, well, first we want to get to know who's Sam, right? Mm-hmm. Where you come from, what did you do in like sports in high school? Where'd you go to college at or whatever? So I suppose without further ado, Sam, where were you born and grew up at?
Right. What's my blood type? Yes. Well, I was born in California.
Okay.
And so every winter in Kansas, I think, why do I live here? Because I think I'm just made for 75 and sunny.
Yeah.
I try to bring that disposition at the very least. But yeah, I grew up in the Kansas City area. And then after high school, I went to Emporia State first, and I loved it there. And then along the way, life happens, and I lived in Wichita for about 10 years before moving to Valley Center and working in Newton.
Okay, so when you talk about education, so I'm interested. You got me at California because I've never actually been to California. Been close before, Arizona, but never California. They say it's a lot like one and the other, but I don't believe that to be true because people from California really kind of like California as far as the weather and the activities to do. I mean, you've got a huge state there. You can go from mountains and mountain climbing and hiking to ocean and all that. So did you spend much time in California? Like go surfing? Are you a surfer?
Oh gosh, I
or
would
just
be
a beach dweller.
No, I actually prefer just more like a patio setting. I was born there, but really my folks, I think along the way, they never explicitly shared this, but now that I'm a grown adult with kids of my own, it was probably the cost of living and then just being too far away from family. So my family is originally from the Kansas City and kind of like the Boot Hill, Missouri area.
Okay.
And so they moved back here. And so I was really only there for my infancy.
Okay.
But they brought as much of that with them as they could. My bedroom was Disney.
Yeah.
So I was probably far too old to admit. But I still can jam out to all the princess songs. Don't make me sing.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so I'm assuming graduated from Kansas City area schools, and then from there you went to Emporia State. What did you study while you were at Emporia?
Yeah, when I was at Emporia, first off, kind of backtracking, I grew up in the Kansas City area. About half of my time up by the Speedway before the Speedway was there, like proper Kansas City, Kansas.
Legends area.
Yeah,
right?
before any of that was there. It was just farm ground. And then my folks moved us out to a town of 500 people.
Nice.
So shout out to Cleveland, Missouri. Hey. I think the population's up to 600 now.
Oh, man.
Yes. So a big difference. I got the variety of learning how to drive in the city and kind of more urban areas.
Yeah.
And then the country life where my friends would ride their four-wheelers or their horses.
Right.
Honestly,
quite literally. Right?
Literally, yeah, I'm not joking. Over to my house, and so I got the variety of both. But yes, I did go to Emporia State and thought I wanted to be a psychologist. It's always been very interesting to me, just human behavior in general. And then took a break from school, started family. Then as a returning adult student, really dug in and thought, where do I want to put my money and my time and my career at that time? So I ended at Wichita State in sport management.
Okay.
But all in all, whether it's psychology or management, marketing for sure, at its root, it's human behavior.
Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated by that.
Well, and I find it interesting. A lot of things that you hear when people go to school is they'll do a degree and then they don't always use that specific degree in their field. Mm-hmm. And of course, this is kind of seeming to be the case in your case. But, I just have to say it. Education is not a waste. Mm-hmm. When you're walking through your educational experience, you might have a field in one thing, but education is designed into which you can pick up so many things that aid you in doing anything that you're going to do.
That's right.
So sports management, I got to know, did you, after graduation, kind of go into a field that was similar to your degree or matched your degree?
Similar, yes. All growing up, people would speak life into me and they would say, you should go into kinesiology or, sport management wasn't a thing before. It was management. It was a business degree. Or they would say, you need to go into exercise science. But I come from a family of small business owners, entrepreneurs, side hustlers. And I always knew that I wanted to work with people. I had a skill set and background in exercise science, just having lived it and studying it for fun.
Yeah.
Like I would look at biology books and exercise science books for fun. So nerd. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Some might say that.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. But then I went into sport management because it was the business of ... And so I always knew, I need to know my accounting. Yeah. I need to know what these numbers mean. I need to know management styles. I need to know how to make decisions and reflect on those in different leadership tactics and theologies around that. And so I went into that, and that actually proved me most useful because the science is always changing. And the modalities of exercise are always changing, and what's required of what we try to require of the human body is always changing. We're always trying to push that. So that's always evolving. You can go to school for exercise science 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or be right now, and it's going to be different. But human behavior at its core, we all kind of tick in the same fashion.
It's interesting, especially when you marry that to health, right? So we say sports or whatever, but that's just physical ability, physical exercise. And then just to pick your brain a bit, because I'm interested in what you're saying is, it changes so much over time. Is that just because of, you think, technology or what we know today versus what we knew 5 years ago? Does it really revolve around just technology, you think?
I think so. At its very core, I heard this phrase, so I can't coin it, I can't trademark it, but I've heard this phrase that says, we are ancient bodies. The human body itself hasn't changed that much in recent history. Recent history is in like 2,000 years, 3,000 years. We have this gallbladder. I'm sure that did something at one point. But at its core, the muscles, they're pretty much the same. They do the same things. So it's more about, how do we track things? How do we measure things? Yes, the technology of that is always changing and evolving. And even now we're behind because the things we're learning about now, they were studying 5 years ago.
Yeah, because it's about data analyzation and
That's
and
right.
conclusions, right? So
That's
obviously, that's just really interesting. And I like how you have chosen to honestly apply your education to different facets that, I mean, it's almost like you could take and go get a master's degree in your field, on top of what you've chosen to do already, and just be more particular maybe in what you'd like to
more
do.
nuanced. Yes. So one thing about sport management that I really enjoyed, different than the other marketing or management classes that I took, is that in sport management, and similar to what I do now, is you're selling is kind of a 4-letter word for a lot of people, but I'm just going to say it because we're all adults here. But when you're selling something that hasn't happened yet, so let's say it's the Chiefs as an example. They've been doing well, but you never know if the tickets you bought the game for, if it's going to rain that day.
Right. Good call.
And you're still trying to sell tickets to that thing, and you don't know if it's a blowout or if it's going to be a close game. You really don't know. And so you're building a story around the idea of the team, of the game, of what you're going to feel like when you lose 50 pounds, whatever that thing is. And so you're selling a promise more than anything.
Very cool. And that would be effective marketing, right? So you say selling, but honestly, marketing is more in the line of that, where you are saying, hey, if we were going to use the Chiefs, for instance, it is the Chiefs, right? I mean, they kind of market themselves, but the fact that when you move forward in that, and the idea of trying to market or sell a product to somebody, it has a lot to do with your ability as an individual to I guess, measure the audience and find out, well, what are they looking for? Or what do they expect to have an outcome in, right?
Well, in women's sports right now is women who have been in sports have always known this, but now everybody's just kind of waking up that women's sports are exciting, and that they are profitable if given the opportunity and the funding to do so, and to prove that that promise is well kept. And so that's a prime example of something new where there are some people who are investing in women's sports at a professional level, but it is truly all on a promise. I mean, we can talk about Caitlin Clark and her rise to the Indiana Fever, and people putting a lot of money behind it before she even took the court. And it's good marketing.
Well, and then not to get into the weeds, but Caitlin, I
love the weeds.
But I read something about her, and it was that originally she did not start out as a basketball player. So when you talk about sports and effectiveness of exercise and education behind that and what you're trying to accomplish, you're just doing well for your body, which then gives you the ability to be so much more as a human being. And that comes at any age, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Any age. The eldest client that I had when I was in that field was already in her mid 70s. My yoga instructor who got me certified in yoga was a retired gal that she had this story she would always tell, that she wouldn't let her husband go to bed unless he had done his yoga, And so I was like, I want to be like that when I'm her, And so it's that. And then I've also had some, just in today's day and age where there's esports and people are really dedicated to sitting. They're really dedicated to being sedentary because that might be profitable for them, whether it's their work or esports or what have you. You have to be intentional with that. And it's starting younger and younger, that play aspect. People would pay me to basically play with their children in a gym setting. Because otherwise they wouldn't do it.
Very interesting. And when we come to youth and then like people my age, I was very athletic and did taekwondo and was a black belt in taekwondo, was a taekwondo instructor. And then because of a medical situation, I wound up kind of falling off of that and have really tried to make a commitment to do the healthy activities that I can. And I think this is, we didn't talk a lot before the interview, but I'm interested now just because, well, how did you find your way to Kansas Christian Home? I got it.
Well, I think everybody has their COVID story, right? And I owned a gym in Wichita for a long time and sold that in 2019. Not knowing anything about COVID. That was in the spring. So it just happened like that. Thank goodness. And so sold that in 2019. And so from 2020, 2022, kind of figuring it out, doing little bits and bobs here and there to keep the lights on in the house and feed the children. But really had an identity crisis because I had self-labeled myself. I am this. I am what I do. And then this opportunity came around and I started as the wellness coordinator at Kansas Christian Home. I said, I can do that. Perfect.
And when we're talking about a wellness coordinator, just for the audience, just describe, what does a wellness coordinator do?
Well, I can only speak to my interpretation of wellness coordinator, what I did in that position. So it's the typical things that you might see. Oh, it's bingo and it's movie night or whatever. But we really got into the chair exercises on a continuous basis, a walking club during the winter time because we didn't necessarily want, Barbara outside in the snow and the rain. So we did walking club and then other fun curated social activities. So one of my favorites is our Galentine's Day in February. So it's just for the ladies, no boys allowed. And it's an opportunity for people to get together in fellowship and just be around people. And especially I got in there in 2022. So it was COVID for most of the population was quote unquote over, right? For the senior population and those working in senior care or retirement community, it was still very much alive and well in a way.
Really
it was a
a
threat.
threat, yeah.
Yes. And so we were still wearing masks as staff so that residents didn't have to, which was fine. But it was still a very real situation. So it was about curating these opportunities to get people out of their home in a safe way. And so it really took on its own form, honestly, my interpretation of a wellness coordinator.
Very good. So there must have been a lot of liberty in and around when hired to do that. What ways can you contribute, and obviously what goals you have, and then how you work those out and have participatory individuals that are there seeing the value in what you're doing and want to buy into it and do it pretty much.
That's right. You're selling something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So it's, just trust me.
Yes.
Trust me. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't go exactly how I envisioned, we're going to have a good time. And even if folks are just more introverted, that's perfectly fine too. Not trying to shove a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
I'm one resident comes to mind. Her name is Martha, and she's a whiz at word puzzles.
I was gonna say
a whiz.
puzzles, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
a whiz
awesome.
at word puzzles. And so I would get some that were gratefully donated to KCH. I would find hard ones and I would copy it. I would do one and she would do the exact same one and see who got it done faster. Spoiler alert, it was always Martha.
She's like, I've been doing puzzles since it's twice as long as you've been alive.
Exactly. And she would drop it in my little mailbox like she was turning in homework, It was almost offensive. I'm like, you don't have to rub it in. So, it's those types of things too. She was already doing the puzzles, but having someone interacting with her kind of helps eliminate or lessen those self-isolating habits that we were told to do during COVID, which was stay home and be safe.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I understand kind of the basis of a long-term living facility, I think is what we would call. What would be the way to explain that? It's a
long-term care facility.
Long-term care. Okay. So with that, ultimately, health and quality of life are two major factors that are looked for. At least I would think would be looked for when being a resident there or the family of a resident there, right? So when you're talking about what you did, that was right up the alley of being able to provide, not just the care needed, but yet it really goes into the lane of quality of care. Would you say that?
Absolutely. Quality of life is everything starts and ends with resident choice at KCH. I can only speak to our reality, but it starts and ends with resident choice, and that alone, I mean, we all are Americans here. That's right, and you don't tell me what to do,
right.
And so we want choice, and we want to be able to pick, and just as long as we're staying safe and as healthy as possible, and not impeding other people's rights to choose their version of quality of life in the facility, we're fine with that. Yes, we do have the long-term care aspect, and inside our doors, we have different verbiage. So each hallway is its own neighborhood. They actually have names. So like Sun-Kissed Avenue is one of the halls that we have. And because they live, that's their home. And we just happen to work where they live. They don't live where we work. It's not the other way around. And that's how we kind of move through life at KCH. We try to.
So just, I'm very interested in this. So just before we move forward into how you became then the marketing director of KCH, what's one thing, I mean, I know I always ask me what's one thing, but what's one thing that you really had a takeaway from that, or that you thought was just one of the most enjoyable things, or the things that you felt was the most rewarding while in that position at KCH?
That's such a great question. Perspective. I mean, our eldest resident on our independent living campus is 104.
Wow.
When she can tell you stories about the first time she saw an airplane, perspective. And just how vividly she remembered that, because you know why? She wasn't looking down at her phone. She wasn't trying to catch it for the gram. She wasn't doing a Facebook Live or trying to get a selfie. She was in the moment. And residents, as I was wellness coordinator, that's the biggest thing, is perspective and being present in the moment. That was just huge for me in that position. And it changed me forever, honestly.
Yeah. Just having that rewarding relationship with people in that situation.
That's right.
So, because we will all be there. We will all have memories and things that we get to share with a younger generation when we're of that age, right?
Absolutely.
So cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then how did you transition from being the wellness director to then being the director of marketing or marketing director?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whichever way you.
Well, it would be
spin
director of marketing.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the position became available. I mean, it was honestly as simple as that. But prior to that, I had been invited to some leadership meetings surrounding the topic of different events.
Okay.
And then they said, "Oh, Sam can do a flyer for that," because I would make flyers for, or invitations or what have you, for the activities and the events that we were doing as the wellness department of one.
All right. Very good. Very cool.
And so they would just invite me and they said, "Oh, Sam can make that look cute." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I can do that.
I can.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's great. And so I'd kind of been showing them along the way some of the skills and talents that I had. And then when the position became available, I really jumped at it. But I also position myself just like anybody else if I didn't know them at all, because I really wanted them to see me for me, not as, oh, the wellness coordinator and she's already here, so let's just, bring her into that. Cool. So I remember I set up the appointment, I put in my resume just like everybody else, and actually the day of my interview, I changed clothes midday because I was going for an interview.
Yeah, right.
So I changed out of my work clothes and into professional clothing, and walked in, changed my shoes, everything. And I said, I really want this. I really know I'm a good fit because of A, B, C, D. Yeah. And I felt like I really earned that. And I've been, so happy when I finally got the yes for that. I was overjoyed because this is something that I've been wanting to do without having to train clients at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, something I always listen for is, as far as companies are concerned and people's testimonies of where they've worked, I'm always humbled and appreciative when you hear about a company or an organization promoting from within. So, just the fact that KCH took and valued your presence, valued your work history, what you were able to contribute, right? To then say, hey, we're going to move you into, a managerial role at this point in time, which is quite a bit of step up, right? Because there's a lot more responsibility that comes with that. And so sending a shout out to KCH, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
awesome.
right.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we have people, a few people that have been there over 30 years. Yeah. And they are a testament to the culture, because the culture, it can come from the top down, but in some instances, it comes from the belly up.
Yeah.
And it comes from the people who are on that ground level, setting the tone within the teams. And then a manager or a leader has to figure out, do I jive with this or not? Yeah. It's not the other way around.
Yeah. And just sending a shout out to KCH again. I'm sure you will. But would you say that the overall culture of KCH is positive?
Very positive. I like to think that we're fun. I mean, just as point blank as I can say it, we like to be fun. They're actually, you should feel pretty proud of yourself, I have to admit, because they're out at Botanica right now. Okay. They took like 15 residents out to Botanica, awesome. And they said, "Can you come?" I said, "I can't, because I'm going to be on the podcast."
Right? You pushed off Botanica for me.
I know. I'm happy to do so. That's fine.
That's awesome.
I'm happy to be here. But yeah, we like to have fun, and it starts and ends with resident choice. And so we have resident council once a month on the healthcare center side or the long-term care side, and then on the independent living side. And this Botanica trip, for example, is an opportunity where both of those came together. They scheduled it. We also love a discount.
Yeah, right.
So we get enough people to get a discount.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we really listen. We try our very, very best to listen because we work for them.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful place, Botanic Gardens.
Yes.
I've been there a couple of times, and I'm just amazed at just like, especially this time of year, and we're talking spring and everything. It's just a really beautiful thing. And we go back to the history of the individual that you're servicing right now, those are the finer things in life. You know, you mentioned being on phones and stuff and everything that we do with our generation. And it's like, well, that wasn't the case with them. They were able to literally really enjoy, you know, well, like, to stop and smell the roses.
Literally and figuratively. Yes. It's one of those things where people think that Botanica, for example, we love it. This is a bigger highlight event.
Yeah.
But life is really the everyday things. It's what their food looks like whenever it's served to them. We serve tableside, so there's no like cafeteria line or anything. We serve tableside, and there's resident choice. And if you want crispy bacon, great. If you want floppy bacon, great. We'll make it work for you. You know, and it comes down to those kind of things too. When is the barber coming? We just had a spa day. So it's the big things, but more often it's the small things, the day to day, and how people are treated in their interactions with residents and how residents interact with staff.
Yeah, and I had to say, I had a loved one that chose to go to KCH.
Oh, wow.
And they started out in a location that was not, it's like they had somebody come to them regularly. I don't know what that would be
like
called.
home health care.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then at some point they transitioned in. And I would just say, you know, that is what you just said is true. I mean, the desire for them to meet every individual right where they're at. And until you said that, it didn't trigger in me that, yeah, you know, that is what I personally witnessed myself with my loved one, was that they knew who he was, they knew what he liked, they knew what he was about, they knew his limitations, they met him where he was at, the whole thing, and the whole product of that was to just give him the best quality of life that he could possibly have, and be able to, I don't know, enjoy it for as much as you know a person could possibly enjoy being away from their home, away from home. You know?
That's right. I mean, each room, or that's their home.
Yeah.
If it's independent living, that's their home. And so we try to have the bones, the structure of the room or the home really be like a template. Yeah. And they can bring things within reason.
Yes.
You know, we have to be safe. We have to be safe. But so that they can be who they are wherever they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you like the shades drawn, great. I mean, really, it's up to us. We are paid to adjust.
Yeah.
That's on us.
To what they would like.
That's right.
And and I'll say beautiful campus.
Yes.
I know when my youngsters were little, what we used to do was we lived by there. We just hit a sidewalk and then we would just go all around the place because it's safe, it's quiet. And I was amazed at the amount of individuals who just loved to see us going by, and you know, they kind of realized of our habit or when we might be there, and then they would always want to talk to us and stuff. And it was just a very welcoming and I don't know how to explain it. Just a happy place is not the word I'm looking for.
They're neighborly.
Yeah, there's very like neighborly would be a good way. You know, it's like, oh, there's, you know, so and so, and then they just want to wave and talk to us, and it was like I almost got this impression that this is the way that it was, you know, before I was around.
Yes, I am. I have to remind myself that I don't live in Mulberry.
Yeah.
Because it's almost too good to be true. People are waving at you and stuff. And I'm looking behind me like, who are they waving at me? And they're like, yeah, you.
They're waving at you.
You are seen. Yeah. You are seen. And in today's busy go, we just look right through people a lot of times, but they really see you and they force you to be present, as I mentioned, to slow down, because the rate that we're going in the current working person's life is not sustainable. And they really put that in perspective for me. There's one of the neighbors out on campus. He always says, "Why are you walking so fast?" I'm a fast walker. And I have to slow down a little bit and get a cup of coffee. And I mean, this is me uncaffeinated. Right. So I'm like, I walk fast normally, and he's like, slow down. I'm like, okay, you're right. Yeah. I'm not in any rush. Yeah. So why am I acting like I'm in a rush?
Yeah, because that's society we live in. Is get from point A to point B as fast as you can, so you can get from point B to point C even faster.
That's right. Yeah. Or sometimes we're just going aimlessly in a direction as quickly as possible. Yeah. We don't know even where we're going.
Very interesting. Yeah. That. Very good. Okay. So as the director of marketing, what I mean, we talked a little bit about selling, what marketing was before, but in your current role with KCH, what is kind of your job description or job duties?
My job is great for anybody who wants variety.
Okay.
At least in my role. Again, it's my interpretation of the role. I do all of our website management. Last year, we went through a big rebranding. So if people recognize or don't recognize our new logo, that's understandable. We're a 60-year-old company, and so that was a heavy lift. So we redid our new website, starting from the logo, big, heavy Facebook presence. That's a big way that we reach out to our community in a digital way. And then any sort of events, I told you, I make them like, can we add glitter?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, whenever they have an idea for an event, I'm like, but what about sequins?
Right.
What about strobe lights? We're like, no, we can't do that.
How about some glitter?
Yeah. T-shirt cannon, you know? What do you think?
Outside only.
Yes. Well, fireworks. We're big fireworks, you know, every 4th of July in the Rolling Hills neighborhood.
Yes.
We're kind of the neighborhood place to be for that event. So I do a lot of everything, anything that's community facing. And I've really kind of, I don't know if brainwash is the right term, but I have some cohorts that I work with who are at Botanic right now. I'm like, take lots of pictures, take lots of videos. And we've had conversations about making sure that we are presenting our digital front door.
Yeah.
It's like our digital patio and inviting people in. And I need a lot of pictures and content to do that, but I'm only one person. So it is me in my office, just me and my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I have a team that has been really helping out with that.
Yeah, and the big part of that is buy-in. You know, we talked about culture earlier, but even now, what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but that with you and your new role as the digital marketing director, or no, the marketing director, the director of marketing that includes digital mediums and platforms.
Yes.
So I said that totally backwards, but you know, you're establishing a culture there in which you want for people to engage and be participatory. You're going out to the rest of the world and saying, "Hey, this is who we are," but you're also getting buy-in from other staff. You said cohorts, so other individuals that work where you are or your place of work. So it's like that's a top-down thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, I've a prime example, which I haven't posted it yet. Actually, I posted half of it, so keep your eye out for it. But Cinco de Mayo was, you know, in our most recent past.
Off the chain, right?
Yes, and so we had we had booked some Azteca dancers to come for staff and residents, and really celebrating that. Well, just with Newton trains.
Yeah.
All the things. They were late. Well, we didn't just say, okay, well, we're just going to cancel. We had probably 10 staff that just did the Macarena. They did the cha-cha slide. That's buy-in. That's culture.
Yeah.
And it's my job to bring what we do on the inside out to the community and then invite them in, you know, to have fun with us.
Yeah, very cool. And so with that, what is one of the most enjoyable things you think about your current role is for you?
Oh, man. Honestly, it's being the mouthpiece, whether it's me physically or the content that I put out, to celebrate our staff, our residents, and the fun things that we have. In its most crude way, I tell people that I'm trying to attract or repel as quickly as possible, because we aren't for everybody, and that's okay. There's a lot of other places here in Harvey County that do a great job, but it's about the culture, because everybody will file your insurance.
Yeah.
Everybody will, you know, match you up with a house on their retirement campus at just most basic level, but it's the culture. So I know that people aren't going to like getting in a Barbie box like we had last fall at the Harvey County United Way Chili Cook-Off that we won 3 trophies at.
I love it. I saw that.
Not everybody's going to do that, but they'll know right away who we are, and they'll want to be a part of it, or they'll say, stay 6 feet away from me. And that's fine too, because there are people that are a little bit more buttoned up and a little bit more conservative in that respect. And that's the right fit for them.
Yeah.
We don't want to force people to join us along the way if they don't want to, because they'll be miserable, and vice versa.
And it goes back to culture. You're establishing something from the top down, and even expressing that same culture is bought in from the resident.
It is.
And it's like this pro-positive momentum that you're able to establish, because first you identify what culture you want to be. Then from there, you take the steps needed to be able to have a two-way street when it comes to that.
And when you talk about residents, another event pops into my head that was really fun. It was one of my favorite reels to make, because I was just sitting with myself and just giggling to myself. And we had pie in the face day, and residents pied their favorite nurses, or their least favorite nurses, I guess, too.
I want her.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And even residents that, didn't have the muscle strength to lift the pie, the nurse just pied themselves,
Right.
And it was fantastic. It was so fun. And it's the culture, like I said, within the staff of KCH, but the residents have that buy-in too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so down to business.
I'm missing Botanica for this. No, I'm just kidding.
We went long on all this because it's just a good conversation.
No, I love it.
It's interesting, and I really appreciate you and what you do and what you bring to the table for your organization. And I just, having my own personal experience, I just want to say, shout out to KCH.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, how you're evolving, the need that you meet, the culture that you want to put into place, and then you're at the helm of that, right?
I appreciate that. There's other people. We have our CEO as well.
Yes.
He's newer to KCH, so he kind of came in and he had to match our level of enthusiasm and energy. And in his orientation, he's like, "Is that a Barbie box?" Yes, it is. And look at our trophies and look at our pie in the face day. What's that?
All right, and so, here's a chance for you to give a shout out. Who is the new director for KCH?
Yes, his name is Justin Harlan.
Okay.
Yeah, he started in January, right at the top of the year. So he's about, 5 months, 6 months in.
Awesome.
And he just kind of hit the ground running, and he matched our culture and level of enthusiasms too. He brings one of his dogs every Friday. I think he has 6 dogs. Awesome. And he brings one every Friday. And just that, he cares about the quality of life for the residents, but it's also the staff. When I see them run up to one of his dogs that he brings in, it just on a Friday, it's not just about a pizza party and wearing jeans on Friday.
Yeah.
We're kind of past that.
You bring it to life. You bring it to life for the people that are there. And not only that, but you talk about both residents and staff being together in this mutual shared destiny.
That's right. That's right. I love it.
That's cool. Okay, so down to business. As I was saying, you guys got some pretty cool stuff coming up. I know there's an event that we talked briefly about, and I'm very interested in it. And I know that there would be other people in the community that are likewise interested in it. But just give me the rundown on it's a pretty big deal coming up, right? It
is a very big deal. Thank you so much for giving me the bandwidth to talk about it. Yeah. It's our second annual Senior Resource Fair and Open House.
Okay.
Last year we had it. In my position, I go to Sedgwick County Senior Fair, Butler County Senior Fair, and I come back home and I'm looking left and right, and I say, we have all the resources here too. And why don't we do something? And we did a very small one last year, but it was successful. We had about 6 different organizations that I had partnered with as a wellness coordinator.
Awesome.
I said, hey, I'm in a new position. You all want to come out for free and just provide free resources for our current independent living residents, their families, or just the general population. Okay, great. And it was great. Everybody got sunburns and it was fantastic. Right. It lasted a little bit longer than we expected, and we did not have enough SPF. But it was great. So about February came around this year, and I go into Wichita for an event, and they said, when are you guys having your spring fair? And I was like, ooh, okay, here we go. Right. Now this is our annual thing.
Right.
We have it on our campus. This year it's on May 23rd from noon to 3. Noon to 1:30, though, Plum Street Cottage's food truck called Plum on the Go is going to be there. So if you really want some good food, come then. But now we have 20-ish organizations. I have a couple late write-ins, and they're coming out to our campus to be of service. Okay. That was something that I really emphasized with them is you're not selling anything. So people coming, be rest assured that nobody's trying to sell you anything. It's really being of service to the senior community, catered more to age 55 and up. So that kind of covers adult children of aging parents or folks who are looking for resources for themselves.
Huh. So can anybody come to this? I mean, we say 55 and up. That, you know, both of my parents are over the age of 55, right? So is that something that is kind of an all family affair? I mean, if they wanted to go and then I would go with them and maybe bring the grandkids along or whatever. I mean, is it geared towards everybody in that respect?
The resources themselves are geared toward people who would need them more than likely. So it would truly be really the age 62 and up.
Okay.
But it is open. It is an open event to the public. But I will say for young kids, it's not like we're going to have a bouncy house or, you know, goldfish snacks. You know, it is really geared toward a more mature audience. But please do come because everybody loves to hear the giggles of a 5-year-old, you know. So we enjoy that. But yes, it is open from noon to 3. It's on our campus because we have the space.
Okay.
We have 24 acres of campus. Not that we would make you walk all over our campus. We have it kind of consolidated, and you'll see and hear us, you know, when you drive up. Okay. But yeah, we have about 20 organizations. Some of them more government organizations, like Harvey County Department on Health. So it's the Department on Aging, RSVP, which is the Harvey County area's retired volunteer organization, Quality of Life. Awesome. As we mentioned, and then some more tactical ones such as a home health and hospice organizations. I think we have 4 of them coming to provide resources and demystify some of the questions that folks have. And then some other fun ones like the new library coming out. They have a senior program called Enlight that a lot of people don't know about, and I will speak about it to whomever will listen, where they curate books for seniors at home and they deliver them to their home, which is really awesome. Really? So all different types of resources that people in my position know about, but the general population wouldn't necessarily know about.
Okay, so it's really an opportunity for individuals to go get their learning on.
That's right.
I mean, for it's just a centralized time and location for individuals to find out about everything that they possibly could when it comes to resources.
That's right, because it's so hard.
Opportunities.
There's my official title on my name badge for residents. They know me as the senior living counselor.
Okay.
So I'm the person a lot of times that people will call this, even if they don't live on campus.
Right.
They'll say, "Oh, my friend lives there. Do you know about such and such?" I said, "Well, maybe. Let me look it up real quick." And I like to be able to connect people. I don't want to just live within the strict confines of my quote unquote job description, because we all know what it feels like if you're calling 10 different places. And if you're an adult child of somebody who is in the aging community and you're trying to find home health services, you're trying to call 20 people over your lunch break.
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity for people to just get together, and you have a captive audience. You have all these different, not all of them, but you have a good, case study of 20 or so different organizations that have answers to the questions you're looking for.
That are all there to aid anybody who wants to be able to tap into the resource. So that's great on both sides. I mean, that not only gives, because I've been around here a while and I don't know everything that's going on, but like you said, I really haven't heard of this type of thing taking place, where there's an event where all of these different entities group together. Forgive me if I'm wrong, and there has been, or I'm unaware, but somebody say, "Oh, Lance, this is the way it's been." This, but this is the first time I've heard of an opportunity like this, where all these different players who are there to really do everything they can to provide resources and networking and serve the population in which they're hoping to be able to contribute to make a better quality of life, period.
That's right.
Is this really kind of are you guys just doing it? Are you pioneering this? At this point?
I humbly brag, yes.
Okay.
Truly humbly. I just really saw a need, and yes, it is aligned with what I do, but it really just goes to the central thought of holistic wellness. Yeah. and curating opportunities for people to get together. It is also an open house as well. So we do have some model homes open for people to tour. A lot of volunteers, about 15 volunteers or so from those organizations. So when people ask me, yes, we want to participate, how can I help? I said, I am ready for you.
Yeah.
I have something that you can do that day.
Right.
Can you put stakes in the ground? Can you put canopies up? Can you blow up balloons? And so these people, I mean, if you see me out in the street and you ask me, how can I help? I'm going to have something for you to do.
Yes, because many hands make light work.
That's right. That's right. And so, that's really the tone of the event, is to have fun. It's an opportunity to come together and fellowship as well, because we have about 100 or so odd current residents on our independent living campus. They'll come out and have fun and walk around. But yes, we do have an open house aspect to it as well. But my humble goal is that eventually we have some sort of planning committee, that more government organizations locally take hold of this. And I'd be happy to be on the planning committee and connect the dots and stuff. But it will continue to grow, and it will be a thing that will need a longer runway to plan, because it is a lot of work, but it's so worth it. Yeah. I got a call yesterday from a lady in Wichita saying, tell me about Newton. They were asking me about Newton in general.
Yeah. So, then you might need to contact Zach McCatton from Choose Newton.
Yes.
To be able to be there.
They'll actually be there.
Okay.
Very Choose cool. Newton will be there.
Way to go, Zach.
Yes. Choose Newton will be there. Because what I do is, when some people come in from out of town, and out of town as in, Wichita, but Walton, Marion, Peabody, Whitewater, Newton is coming into town for them, but they haven't really lived here in decades, a lot of people. And so I make sure that I have the visitor's guide, I have the Harvey County resource guide. I load them up to feel equipped to make educated decisions. And I hope that they pick KCH. I'm very much so into reciprocity, but I'm hoping that they pick us, but I'm not going to shove a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
And if they're looking for something else, at least I gave them the resources to feel empowered to do so. And that also doesn't prevent them from making a referral, saying, I had a good experience there.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. We might be coming towards the end of the program. Sure. One thing that I always like to ask people is before we go or whatever, is just give them the opportunity to speak directly to the hearts and the minds of anybody listening.
One thing that comes to mind and really is on my heart and my soul is that we as a community need to remind ourselves to value the input, the perspective, and the wisdom of our elders. These are people that were our teachers, and we thought they were so cool. Yeah. And then some way along the way, we got a little bit cynical through life, circumstances, whatever. But they're still there, and they took care of us for such a long time, and it's our turn. And that's something at a familiar level is kind of wearing off. Not as many people are doing that as much, like caring for, an aging parent or an uncle or something like that. And it's so important to remind ourselves that they took care of us, and we need to do the same in whatever is within our zone of helpfulness. You don't have to be a trained nurse, but you can play cards, you can read, you can bring in, how many cases of water I've carried into someone's house. It's something like that, and they're so grateful and thankful. And it's the little things, not just the big things, that contribute to our quality of life.
Very nice. Very nice. I got to say, you hit that one out of the park.
I appreciate that. I mean, awesome. It's true. That's just, that's really what I go into. I have about a 15-minute, 20-minute drive into work, to work and back home. And that's really how I prep myself for the day. It might be a Facebook post, or it might be a chamber breakfast where I'm, sitting next to some big hitters in the community, but I'm here to communicate that sentiment as a KCH representative, and then just as a human.
Yeah. Amazing. I appreciate you coming on the program today.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And telling me all about what you guys got going on. I think it's it's empowering.
Well, thank
I'll just
you.
say that, to know what you all are doing, and that you're building and establishing a culture that is just what we want to see in society.
Yeah,
Period.
I appreciate that.
Period. So
Thank you.
well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. Our guest on the program was Sam Schaefer, who is the Director of Marketing from Kansas Christian Home, also known as KCH, talking about all the things that's going on there and what will be happening in the future. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right.